everybody. Welcome to the last Facebook Live of 2018. I'm Elisa Vitti, founder of the Flow Living Hormone Center, where we're modernizing menstrual health care. And I am the author of Woman Code and the creator of the MyFlow period tracking and cycle syncing app. And I come to you every week to talk about how to live smarter in your unique female body. So I'm so excited. This week we're going to be talking about natural strategies to address PCOS. So of course, before I dive in, I want to know who's tuning in, where you're tuning in from, say hello, and let me know, if you're struggling with PCOS or if there's something in particular you want to make sure that I talk about today. I always want to try to address your questions. These are very interactive chats. So say hello. Hi, Lene. Nice to see you. Hey, Charity. Welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We have Flow sisters all over the world, so it's always really exciting to connect with you wherever you are. As many of you know, I am a former PCOS sufferer, and while you guys are typing a little bit about you and your symptoms, hey Bertha from South Carolina, while you guys are sharing some of your details with me, I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. Hey Lene. Hi Jacqueline from New York. Hey Kat from Toronto. Sunita from Vancouver, all my Canadian ladies. So I used to have PCOS, and I had kind of your stereotypical PCOS. I was over 200 pounds. I was covered face, chest, and back in cystic acne. I didn't get my period from the age of 12 to 22. I only got my period 6 times, and 2 of those were induced with synthetic progesterone. It was, and I had a lot of psychological issues with, or side effects or symptoms from the PCOS. So a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of insomnia, just never felt happy. It's a real drag, the whole PCOS conglomerate. Hey Sangeet from New York. Hey Mikalina from Denmark. Love that. Hey Katie from Michigan. Hi Suman from Italia. I love that. My parents are from Italy, so I grew up with a lot of Italian culture in my house. Hey, Katie from Arizona. It's so nice to be together with all of you. So, of course, I want to hear what you're struggling with PCOS, because today we're talking about, Ashley from New Zealand. That's awesome. Hey, Sarah from Michigan, who hasn't had a period in over a year since going off birth control. I can't see what's after that, so cut and paste that second sentence, if you will, so I can read it. I want to know if there's anything going on with, what symptoms you have, what's your particular PCOS struggle, is it with weight, is it with getting your period, is it with skin, is it with a lot of different things. We're going to talk today about natural strategies that can really be helpful. And we'll talk about, we'll just talk about it in general. Okay, hey Sarah, your OBGYN thinks you might have PCOS. Yeah, so let's start with that. It's a confusing symptom. It's a confusing condition because it doesn't present the same way in everyone. It doesn't, there's not one test that definitively confirms exactly that you have PCOS or not. And now we understand a little bit more what the real causes are. And there are different types of PCOS. So there's a couple of types. So let's sort of cover that first. So the first type is the kind that I had, which really was inflammation-based PCOS. If I really were to try to pin it down to one thing, I was overexposed to antibiotics as a child, so my gut microbiome was just ravaged, you know, before I hit puberty. I was overexposed to dairy and gluten as a child, so I was already showing signs of, you know, sluggish metabolism. And there was a lot of stress, you know, for me growing up, you know, whether it have been from school or, you know, just things going on in my personal life. So I had sort of like this inflamed situation in my body. And I think if I were to pinpoint, you know, what was the real type of PCOS that I had, that was the type. There's also the, you know, what's more classic, you know, PCOS, or what historically, you know, was the one from a medical point of view, what they really consider the one cause is sort of like insulin resistance based PCOS, which I didn't really, I mean, maybe I had a touch of that, but when you see PCOS with the insulin resistance at its, as a real forefront, you know, where sugar just can't get into the cell effectively, it's a specific kind of obesity. You know, it's a lot of upper body weight gain, a lot of the hair issues, the hirsutism, the testosterone issues. So that's a little bit more of that type, a little bit more of the androgen effect in the insulin-resistant type than with the inflammation-based type. And then there's the, you know, ballerina PCOS or the thin PCOS, where you don't present, there's no real problem with insulin, you know, helping to transport glucose into the cells. There's not an issue with androgenization in terms of, you know, hair loss or hair growth, or there's not a lot of issues with weight, but there are cysts on the ovaries. Now, and then some people think that birth control pills can actually trigger or make worse. PCOS certainly can make it worse, but some people feel like birth control pills in the wrong genetic environment can be a cause. You know, that's something that's being explored, but definitely can make the symptoms worse. That's already been researched. So, you know, I think that's another potential thing to consider if you've been on birth control pills for your PCOS, ironically, or you went on them before you knew you had it, and then you went off and all of a sudden you discovered you had it. You know, it's a whole, we're going to talk about what to do there too. So those are kind of the four types to consider, and that's what makes it difficult for doctors to diagnose. I went 7 years without a diagnosis, even though I had what looked like more of the stereotypical symptoms. I think, you know, when I was going through it 20 years ago, you know, there just was less, but, you know, maybe fewer cases. But now, you know, we're talking about 1 in 8 women. So, you know, in the United States, what's my little statistic here for you? In the United States, they're estimating it affects potentially 5 million plus women, at least, that have a diagnosis. So that's something to consider. And of course, it is one of the main issues around fertility for women in this population, because you're not ovulating necessarily, typically, you're not menstruating. And, you know, it can definitely set you up for some other big diseases. I remember when I was sitting down finally after getting my diagnosis, the doctor was like, all right, you know, we don't have a cure, and long-term side effects can include heart disease, diabetes, you know, dementia, cancer, etc. So it's kind of a stressful condition to first hear about, because it seems so confusing and sort of fuzzy around the edges, and that it affects everything, and what are you supposed to do? The good news is there's a lot you can do. As if any of you have read Woman Code, you know I threw myself into apprenticing myself with different practitioners and tried all sorts of elimination diets and wacky supplements, and I tried everything, and nothing seemed to work. And I eventually Suman, I'll talk about that in a second. I did talk about it, the thin PCOS. You know, you still have the same issues, but you're just not presenting with symptoms physically, but internally you're still having all the dysfunction in the endocrine system. That's really what I said earlier. So I eventually stumbled upon the protocol that is now the Flow protocol. I created that out of my research and put it together with a lot of trial and error on myself. And I was really amazed to see how responsive the body is to getting the right inputs at the right sequence. That's the magic of the protocol. The Flow protocol is the sequence of events of when we do certain things, because the endocrine system has to take inputs in the order it wants, not what we want to do. For example, a lot of people love the detox idea, like, oh, I'm just going to do a detox, that'll fix me, and has a beginning and an end. Doesn't take too long. Typically you're detoxing for like a week, or two. It's not a big commitment. We feel like we can commit to that. But detoxing first, especially with something like PCOS or really any menstrual disorder, is like the worst place to start. The endocrine system does not like it whatsoever, and you won't get results. So the sequence of the Flow protocol is really important with dealing with PCOS, and it's why I hadn't tried that handle before. And it's why I was able to watch my body transform so quickly. Within 6 months of implementation, I lost, almost all the weight that I needed to lose. My skin started to clear up. And most importantly, I got my period back, and I have been ovulating and menstruating ever since. And that's really remarkable, because I missed out that first decade. And to be able to restore ovulation and menstruation is so important for your health. Having the right levels of estrogen such that you can ovulate and menstruate, it's actually cardioprotective, osteoprotective, and neuroprotective. Interesting that we don't know that, because we hear instead, oh no, being on the pill is better. It's better if you don't have a period. Well, in fact, that's not true. Ovulation and the hormonal patterns that are associated with that protect your heart, your brain, and your bones. I mean, it's really good. Nature wouldn't design a system that wasn't mutually beneficial for you and for the procreation of the species. You know what I mean? So I think that's something else to consider. So, all right. So I want to talk a little bit about some natural strategies, things that you want to consider, because, I know it can feel overwhelming, and I just wanted to give you some quick things to start. Obviously I'd love to see you all checking out Monthly Flow and really committing to the protocol, because that's how you're going to restore your endocrine balance. But if you want some things to get started, to just see how you might see your body respond, I have some ideas for you. Alexis, I can't read the rest of your question, so if you can paste everything after the word instead, that would be great. Okay, so strategy number 1 to deal with your PCOS, regardless of the type of PCOS that you have, is to really try to nail down breakfast with a healthy protein and fat. And to do that within about no later than an hour of waking up, because you want to, that's so funny, Daljit. I hear that a lot. It's so weird. You're not the first person to say that. And I don't see it. I don't, and she's very lovely. But anyway, that's just funny. So have a healthy protein and fat at breakfast, and try to do that within an hour of waking up. Really important. Why? The only way your endocrine system is going to get the message that you are doing things that are going to allow it to do its job the way it wants to is if you stabilize your blood sugar. That's why it's the first step of the protocol. That's the first input from you that your endocrine system must receive in order to start turning the ship around from a hormonal point of view. If you don't do it, if you do the detoxing first, or if you try to deal with your stress, it's like your endocrine system's like, yes, that's all nice and good, but we can't do anything for you if blood sugar is all over the place. Literally, your endocrine system cannot proceed to balancing hormones if it can't safeguard the transport of glucose to the brain, the heart, and the muscle tissue. So you gotta nail breakfast. However, don't overdo the protein. In fact, eggs are okay, beans are great, nuts are good, going paleo, keto. In fact, I did a whole blog on intermittent fasting and the different types of diets, the paleo, keto. A lot of women report ending up stopping their periods from that. So you got to be careful. So you can't just overdo it. Then the other sort of strategy that I was really delighted to see in my research is that you have to actually eat the right kind of carbs. It's so important to, have good quality sources of energy, right, that are slow burning. So my favorite carbohydrate outside of root vegetables, carrots, sweet potatoes, squash, things that you could roast and make delicious or put into a soup. My favorite carbohydrate for women with PCOS is buckwheat. Buckwheat. Full of inositol. Naturally occurring inositol. Inositol helps sugar get into the cell, which is a very good thing for women with PCOS, especially if you have the insulin-resistant type. But it's a non-wheat, it's no gluten, very easy to digest, very delicious, and very really good metabolically. So I couldn't recommend. That's probably my favorite. I keep on hand at all times this organic box of cream of buckwheat. So whenever I feel like I want my buckwheat, I just make it, and it comes out like polenta. So in fact, according to the ancient Roman army, actually, when they ate their polenta on the road as they were marching across Europe, they were eating buckwheat polenta because corn had not yet been brought from the New World back in the days of the Roman Empire. So this buckwheat situation, cream of buckwheat, comes out creamy, spread it on a plate. You could put roasted or sauteed shiitake mushrooms or portobello mushrooms or any, I love it with mushrooms on top. So good. No, buckwheat is not bitter, so delicious. It's one of my favorite foods. I can't recommend enough. If you haven't tried it yet, try it. And if you go to an Ethiopian restaurant, the bread that they serve called injera is made from teff, which is another excellent grain. And there's another one that you could try that's gluten-free, that's really good for your metabolism if you have PCOS. So those are two places to try. Quinoa is good, lots of protein. That's good too. That one has a little bitter taste if you don't soak the grain. Those are my favorite grains. Rice can be heavier, so you have to kind of go lighter with that. But buckwheat, teff, and quinoa are really good. Sweetener, stevia. Pretty much, so that you don't get the sugar spike. Okay, so that's with the carbs. Another strategy for your PCOS of just some places for you to start. I don't remember the brand off the top of my head. I can't, I'm sorry, I can see the box perfectly. It's like a little yellow box with some sort of like foresty scene and a table and the steaming pot of buckwheat. That's the thing. You know, Amanda, I would love to find some monk fruit that does not also have xylitol in it. So, you know, I was all excited for Lakanto because, you know, you can like bake with it, and I tried baking a batch of cookies with it. I absolutely did not like it, and that xylitol situation, I haven't done enough research on xylitol and its effects on the body, but I'm a natural skeptic, so I'm not comfortable with it. But if you know of some monk fruit that does not, that's just pure monk fruit, that's an excellent one too. Okay, next strategy. I'm always afraid to say this because I feel like I'm going to hear the screams coming through the my iPad here, but here, I'm not one to be afraid to tell you the truth. You got to get rid of the caffeine. Go ahead, let's hear the bad screaming. I know. But I'm so tired and I need my coffee and oh my God. No coffee. Couple reasons. If you have PCOS or any other menstrual disorder, chances are good you are a variant in a gene that helps your body metabolize estrogen. And in my research, it turns out that oftentimes that is coupled with a variation in a gene called the CYP1A2 gene, which 50% of the population has this variation, and it makes you inefficient at metabolizing caffeine as well. So you end up with caffeine toxicity as a result, and that caffeine toxicity can enhance your anxiety and depression, which is already a symptom that you struggle with PCOS, and can increase the proliferation, the development of the cysts that are already on your ovaries, and can make your breasts more cystic if you have the tendency for fibrocystic breast disease. It is not a good situation to deal with the caffeine, not to mention that it's going to totally, you know, disrupt and destabilize your blood sugar. Yes, Kayla, it's the Pocono brand. Thank you for finding that. That's the one. So, oh good, some of you are who's 2 months off the caffeine? Where'd that go? Proud of you. Where is it? I saw it somewhere. Herstina, 2 months without coffee and caffeine. Woohoo! Thanks to Flo, good for you. You may want to check out the blog that we did on the essential things every woman must know before she takes another sip of coffee. You just find it on flowliving.com. Really, really important. Chicory coffee. Is that just chicory root without any other caffeine? If so, that's cool. I know some people switch to dandelion root coffee. You can do kukicha tea, which was my favorite thing a while back before I had my daughter. Really nice, very nutty and brown, but not, you know, it's not sweet like herbal tea, so that's good. Do I recommend caffeine in some stage of the cycle? No stages are good. Decaf, Jacqueline. The problem with decaf is, think about it. How do they get that caffeine out of the bean? Do they just like steam it a little bit with some clean water and like the caffeine comes out? No, they add a whole bunch of toxic endocrine disruptive chemicals to that bean, and you don't want to be, it's like, I'd rather you have organic, full caffeinated coffee than decaf coffee. I mean, it's just a disaster. So no decaf. You gotta get off of it. Yes, Sanjeet, caffeine in green tea, black tea, chai. I know, still not good. Katie, 3 months off the caffeine. Katie's somebody who I see on our Facebook Lives regularly. I'm proud of you, sister. That is good. Yes, it includes, I know, you see, I know. Michalina, 6 months without coffee. Ladies, I'm 20 years without coffee. Caffeine of any sort. It can be done. I know you're all asking, what about green tea? No green tea. And the caffeine actually can make the androgenization factor worse as well. So there's no value for you as a woman with PCOS to use caffeine. The energy, the fatigue you're feeling will be vastly improved by getting off the caffeine. Yes, Serene, that might be something to try, the Swiss decaf coffee. But you got to make sure there's really no caffeine in it. I haven't explored that enough. So if you want to take that on, research, fully investigate for yourself, and then also see how you feel, you know, that's a worthy experiment for sure. Coffee enemas, you know, I can't answer that question with enough granular detail. So I think it should be okay, but I would want to know for certain, you know. So I think if you're using that for a particular reason, then perhaps. But you know, if there's a way to do it with just water, that's maybe something to explore too. 8 months off coffee. You guys, this is Katie, 4 years. This is so good. Yeah, matcha. Very, very good. Decaf mushroom coffee, Bertha. So, okay, great, Kimmy. Yeah, so, okay. So maybe you can speak to that. I haven't done, enemas are not something that I focus on. So I'm not the expert on enemas, but you guys should connect about your shared passion for enemas, because I know a lot of people really love them and they do have a lot of health benefits. So, you know, I'm all supportive. Epsom salt enemas would be another potential swap instead of the caffeine. Hot drinks, Devora, besides herbal tea, yes, sometimes I cannot take a cup of like hot potpourri. I get you. I really like rooibos. Honestly, rooibos chai, for any of you who are like chai drinkers, rooibos chai is such a great substitute. It tastes exactly the same, except there's no black tea in it. You can put almond milk or coconut milk, and you know, it's delicious. I love plain rooibos. I love nettle. I really like herbaceous instead of floral or fruity. And when I want something fruity, I really tend to just make, like I had it this morning, a cup of, I just slice up some fresh ginger, some fresh lemon, put some really good manuka honey, hot water, stir it, boom, you know, so it's really more of a medicinal hot beverage. I'll make hot cocoa with raw cacao, with some, what else would I put? Some stevia to sweeten it, and coconut milk or almond milk. You know, but don't bring, if you're using almond milk, don't bring it to a boil because it starts to taste funny. Just kind of warm it up. Okay, so Tosh, just be careful of teas that contain licorice, especially if you're already dealing with excess weight. Licorice raises blood pressure, and if you're drinking a lot of this tea with licorice, and a lot of teas have licorice in it because it adds a sweet flavor to, yep, Sanjeet, honey is not low glycemic, it's true, but I'm in a place now with my metabolism where I can tolerate it in small doses. So that's what happens when you put your endocrine system or put your PCOS into remission. You can have a wider variety of things that your body can tolerate. Caffeine in cacao is 1 tablespoon of raw cacao to 1 cup of almond milk is the proportions that I use to make up 1 cup of hot cocoa. It's not enough caffeine to be significant. You'd have to eat so much chocolate to get a caffeine situation happening. So we've spent more time on caffeine This is what I'm saying. This is everybody's drug of choice. It's like, and it's popularized and it's everywhere. And yeah, it's a big problem. And yes, Tosh, they use soy milk everywhere in the UK, but you can't get like almond or oat. I think you could maybe get oat milk. My best friend lives in London. I think you can get oat milk at the coffee houses. But yeah, it's a problem. You guys need to get off the soy milk situation. Suman, all of the things we're talking about are applicable to thin PCOS. So don't worry, you're not missing a thing. Everything that I'm telling you now, you need to be doing too. Okay, let's talk about the next strategy. You love soy milk, Casey? Casey love? Casey loves soy milk. Here's the problem with soy milk. The problem with soy milk is that it's very, very high in phytoestrogens, which a small amount, you know, when the big research came out in the 80s about Japanese women and their lower rates of breast cancer, and the link between consuming fermented soy products, miso, and soy, soy sauce, basically, they are having small amounts. Then we, of course, in the States, took that study, and there was an explosion in the soy product development, you know, vertical. Soy milk, soy ice cream, soy cheese, soy yogurt, soy everything. So that's a problem, and oftentimes it's augmented with soy protein isolate. And when I was on Dr. Oz, we actually talked extensively. There was a giant soybean we deconstructed, and it was very visual. I would say having too much of that is actually endocrine disruptive. The right amount of fermented soy, very good, very protective. But all of these soy products, tofu, too much of that, you know, I would rather you have tempeh versus tofu, for example, can be problematic, especially with PCOS. So, yeah, if you want to use soy products to raise your estrogen levels, that's an appropriate reason to use it. Very good, Elena. Okay. If you're allergic to soy, definitely stay away from it. Okay, the next strategy, you got to get the endocrine disruptive toxins out of your personal environment. I cannot stress this enough, especially for those of you who have the inflammation type of PCOS that I had. You got to get yourself weaned off of, you know, any sort of chronic antibiotic situation that you might be in, you know, like if you have some sort of, I don't know, lingering infection or chronic UTIs or, you know what I'm saying, things where like your gut is being like, you know, napalmed with antibiotics on a regular basis. You got to figure that out. The birth control pill also disrupts the gut. And then cleaning products, dry cleaning, you know, if you take... For example, I just bought a beautiful set of two new pillows to go on my couch with 2 new pillowcase covers. And I'm pretty sure when I was at the store, I made sure to check that they were machine washable. Then I get them home, and a week later, my husband's like, let's set the pillows up, you know. And I was like, great, throw them in the wash. He's like, oh, but they say dry clean only. I was like, really? Because I think I talked to the guy at the store, and he said I could wash them. And I was like, what are they made out of? And he's like, whatever, some linen, some polyester, whatever. I was like, just wash them. I said, just wash them. If they shrink, you know, they weren't that expensive, like we'll get another set. But I was like, 90% of the stuff that says dry clean only, I wash. Unless it's like silk or cashmere, basically that's it. Anything else, I will wash it. And then if I do and I just don't buy things that are dry clean only because I don't want that under my armpits or on my breasts. I just don't want that anywhere near me. So make different choices when you're buying fabrics. things that you can wash and wear and drip dry. You know, this is like not, I don't want to be held hostage by the dry cleaning company. And then the things that you're using to like fragrance your home. There's one thing you should use. Get a cold steam diffuser. They're everywhere. Get organic essential oils. A lot of them are not organic, so go to Whole Foods or whatever your natural apothecary is. Get some organic essential oils and stick them in there. You know, you can make your own holiday blends. You can make your cold and flu blends with some eucalyptus and lavender. You know, when I want to like cheer up the house, I put some citrus, like orange and lemon together. You know, don't buy all the perfumed sticks and the weirdo stinky candles. Why cold steam, Chanel? Because it doesn't denature the oil. Yeah, laundry detergent, Phoebe, and beauty products, absolutely. Whatever you're putting on your skin, in your hair, in your armpits, everything, go green as much as you can. Laundry brands, there's a ton. What do I use to, here's what I wash everything in. 7th generation free and clear detergent, has no scent whatsoever. Arm & Hammer baking soda to clean it really good. And then for stuff with my daughter's school, I use non-chlorine bleach, which, by the way, what is non-chlorine bleach? It's hydrogen peroxide, which is stuff that you might put on a cut, right? That's all it is. So that's what I use. That's it. I don't fragrance my laundry. I definitely don't use dryer sheets. Yeah, soy-based candles are cool. That's fine. Beeswax is probably the best. If you can find those are more expensive, obviously. So that's good. But just do some research, you know, and like, for example, what do I wear on my face? I use RMS, like, you know, if I have circles under my eyes or any little red spots, I use RMS Uncover Up. Yeah, dryer sheets. Think about it, Brittany. What is in the dryer sheets that makes all of the clothes not stick together with static and smell a certain way? It ain't natural, it's chemical, right? I don't think so, Elena. And if it does, I'd be shocked, but I'm pretty sure it's SLS free, and if it is, then I'd be switching immediately. Yes, Kimmy, and all your cottons. Cotton is one of the most heavily sprayed fabrics. You know, I mean, I am on the search for organic cotton underwear and bras. Look at you smart ladies. Wool dryer balls. That is so smart. So cool. So RMS, Vapor, Ilia, those are some good product lines for makeup. And I just finally, somebody came up with some great, completely clean hair styling products, which has been, you know, just the bane of my existence, trying to find hair products that don't contain like liquid plastics essentially in them, which is terrible, not to mention other horrible and, you know, chemicals. And oftentimes for curly hair or textured hair, the natural gels are very thick and heavy. And anyway, I've been bouncing around from natural product to natural product, but I finally found one that I'm so happy with it. I basically have been talking about it every Facebook Live for the past month. It's a company called Inner Sense, like sense of smell, Inner Sense, kind of a strange name. But then I use one product from that, but I just got 2 new ones. I'm so excited to try them for when I have to like go on camera and stuff like that. So I use every day, like what's in my hair now is their I Create Lift. No, Diva Curl chemicals, no. So I Create Lift is the product that's in my hair, and then after I wash, before I put that on, I'll use Rawa. RAHUA. They have a styling cream, which is basically it's just an oil. It's a hair oil. Yes, you can watch this later. It's all the videos I've ever done are always on the page. So I put that on to like a leave-in conditioner, and then I use the styling products, you know, to refresh the curls between washes. And I just picked up their hairspray, which obviously is free of all the chemicals, not aerosol or anything. And then also like a polishing pomade or something, because oftentimes when I have people come and like curl my hair for camera, they need those products, and I was just sick of using ones that I didn't feel great about. So now I have my set. I'm feeling very good. So it takes time, it takes research, even for me. So just try to go slow. Pick one. Do your laundry first. Do your cleaning products. Do your makeup. Do your hair stuff. You know, tackle one at a time, and you'll get it done. Okay. The next thing. The last thing, you're welcome, Tosh. I don't know that product, Brittany, but Hair Story, I don't know anything about them. Okay, last thing that you need to do, because whether you have the insulin-resistant type of PCOS, I don't know that brand either, Grace. But just read the label, just read the ingredients. You'll know. If there's stuff you can't pronounce, or if you look, and if there's ever a question about, is this ingredient okay, look it up on the Environmental Working Group, EWG. .org, and they have a list of every single product, and they actually will tell you what classification is it in. Is it endocrine disruptive? You cannot go wrong by just check, and you can do it at the store before you buy something. So good to know. Yep, there you go, Kimmy Jones. There you go. Okay, last thing. Wow, this time flies. I want to talk about whether you have insulin-resistant type PCOS, whether you have inflammation type PCOS, whether you have thin PCOS, whether you have PCOS, exacerbated PCOS, birth control pill, exacerbated PCOS. Something that you definitely need is to patch up your micronutrient deficiencies. Think about it. All those years I was overexposed to antibiotics and gluten and dairy. Micronutrients from the foods I was eating was not getting to my endocrine system, glands and organs in enough quantity to have concentrations that allowed me to make adequate levels of hormones, right? So it's an important thing to think about, and everybody's having some sort of issue with this. If you've been on the pill ever, you're just so depleted of micronutrients. It's just a common problem. If you drink caffeine, like your magnesium and B levels are pretty much out the window. Most women with PCOS struggle with very low levels of vitamin D3. So there's a lot, and we need extra support with B vitamins and omega-3 fatty acids to help with our depression and anxiety and our energy. So you have to be thinking that beyond the food, you also need to help yourself kind of recover from the PCOS hole that you're in. And micronutrients are a really good way to go. So I definitely recommend B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D3, probiotics, magnesium, and then some things to support the liver, like vitamin C, and some other things like glutathione, things that really nourish. Yes, but Kyrie, you live in South Africa. That's not unique to South Africa. She's saying that the product industry and doctors are so behind with all of this kind of info. Listen, we're the only natural menstrual health care company in the world. So we're on the bleeding edge, of trying to modernize our understanding of what do you do when your hormones are out of balance as a woman in your reproductive years. Because Western medicine, wherever you are, South Africa, India, Canada, the United States, the answer is, we don't know why that happened to you, and we don't know what to do except to stop all your natural hormones, give you synthetic ones, and then just see what happens. That is unacceptable. So, I just had to do something about that, and that's why I started this company, because I just didn't want other women to feel like I felt, which was shocked and then without resources, because we can do better. And so now we have Flow Living, and I'm really proud that we're taking care of you guys all over the world. So important that we get the right information, we can make the right decisions, we can take care of ourselves the right way, so we can start to get results, because we're not supposed to have all these problems. Nature didn't design us to have this many flaws with our hormones. We were actually designed out of millennia of evolution to have one of the most sophisticated reproductive systems on the planet. And so all of this disruption that you're experiencing is the result of the wrong inputs with food, with chemicals, with environment, with medications, with lifestyle, with sleep, with LED light exposure. It is, as I say all the time, it's not easy for ovaries out there. Katrine, I'm not a fan of soy protein powder because that's the soy protein isolate that is endocrine disruptive. And yeah, Michelle, still, PCOS is sometimes unknown by doctors even to this day, which is shocking. And just think about what happened to Lena Dunham, who, you know, for years was dealing with endometriosis, and, you know, now she had a hysterectomy. It's really hard for women to get the right support. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work that we're doing at Flow Living. And I thank you for sharing it with all of your friends and letting them know to come and watch and all of that, because where else are they going to get this information? Yes, Alejandro, we do have a whole Facebook Live video on endometriosis. Bethany, I didn't talk about that in this video because there's just so much to talk about. But yes, one of the things that you want to do once you start to have your cycle be restored, when you put your PCOS into remission, is you're going to be able to start using the cycle syncing method that I created to help you, you know, get you into a place where you're not taxing your adrenals or anything like that. For those of you who are ready to take some special attention with the micronutrients, especially during this holiday season, which is like stress depletes your micronutrients, sleep deprivation from travel and time zone changes depletes micronutrients, all the holiday family historical food full of sugar, gluten, and dairy, and caffeine from the espresso, whatever you're having, all of that is going to really disrupt your micronutrients, your endocrine system. If you want to do a little something to really protect yourself, I would highly encourage you to pick up the Flow Balance supplements. I formulated these myself. These are the ones that contain all the micronutrients that I talked about: magnesium, the omega-3 D3, the liver supportive nutrients, the B vitamins, and the probiotics. You can order these by just going to flowliving.com and click on supplements. And if you order them in the next 48 hours before we all go on holiday break, because I want to really support you, you're going to get a bonus package delivered to you via email by simply emailing support@flowliving with your receipt. And you're going to get a whole bunch of cool things. You're going to get my 4 healing smoothie recipe guide. You're going to get my Conquering PCOS Masterclass, and you're going to get my PCOS special report on how to heal and reclaim your health. This is a $54 value. You're going to get it all for free when you purchase in the next 2 days. In the 4 healing smoothies, you're going to have 4 recipes that banish your PMS and sugar cravings, lift your energy without coffee, heat up your sex drive, and for those of you who are trying to conceive, they help you boost your egg quality and your fertility. In the Conquering PCOS Masterclass, you're going to learn more about how to stabilize your weight, how to reestablish monthly ovulation, deal with acne and hair issues, and address the infertility. And in the special PCOS report on reclaiming how to cope and how to reclaim your health, we're going to dive deep into what your doctor isn't telling you about your PCOS diagnosis, which hormones are out of balance and how to manage them, and what lifestyle changes to make now to reduce your symptoms. So it's a really comprehensive package for those of you who have PCOS. And if you're looking to get that micronutrient support during the holidays, you can pick up the Balance supplements just by going to flowliving.com and clicking on supplements in the navigation, emailing support@flowliving with your receipt in the next 48 hours, and you'll get the bonus emailed to you. Marion, the supplements can be shipped internationally. You just have to work with our customer service to make that happen. So if you're interested in shipping the supplements internationally, you can do that. Just email support@flowliving with international shipping request in the subject line, and we'll be able to help you do that. We just can't do it direct on the website. We have a third party who helps us with that. So I'm really excited that we can do that. For those of you who are in Canada or Europe or anywhere else, Middle East, we can get to you now. So, you guys, you had a lot of good questions. This is a lot of fun to chat about these things. I can't believe that this is our last Facebook Live of the 2018. We've covered a lot of topics, 50 different topics this year, right? Because we've been, or thereabouts. So if you missed any of our Facebook Lives from Thursdays, you can go. You can order it in Hungary. Yep, just put international shipping request in the subject line, and they'll help you set that up. We've covered so many topics, but if you missed any of them, you just go to the Flow Living Facebook page and click on videos, and you can scroll through them all. They're all titled by topic, and you can watch whichever ones are relevant to you. Of course, that's why I do them on Facebook, because they can be archived and kept there for everybody to watch whenever they get a chance. So anyway, ladies, thank you so much for spending your Thursdays with me. It's always great to connect with you, and for asking all of your great questions. And I hope that you have some new information, some good perspective on your PCOS journey, and that you're going to use some of the support tools that we have at Flow Living to help you get from where you are today to where you absolutely can be, which is to have your PCOS be, symptom-less and in remission. And I think that it is so exciting that so many of us are taking our hormones into our own hands, because that's the best way to go about it. So until I see you in 2019, have a beautiful rest of the month. Whatever you celebrate, enjoy it. Happy New Year. And give the gift of some good ovary karma to a friend, and share the Flow Living community with them, the resources, the websites, share a blog, share a link to a Facebook video with somebody that you care about that you think might be struggling with her hormones. And I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, all right? Happy holidays. Talk to you soon. Bye.